Coming to everyone with the Tarot Snapshot for the week of Sunday, November 24th. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I just want to make it clear that this video is a little extra long. It's a 10-minute-ish video based on wanting to give back to the community, wanting to give back to people who support me or people that follow my journey or just people who would randomly find this video. So it's a 3-card spread. The first card represents us. The second card represents what vexes and perplexes us. And the next card represents what heals and reveals. Now, with that being said, before we get into it, I want to talk to you about a little bit of a story today. As a professional psychic medium in my studio right here, I do provide services. Those services can be found on my website, joshsimons.com. Those are tarot readings, mediumship sessions, and I had an experience today that made me realize that I should actually maybe talk about those services a little bit more and encourage people to participate in them. I sat with a man today who I had seen a couple of years ago, and I don't remember my readings. He came back to me today as a thanks, because when I sat with him, I was really drawn to his heart. Not his metaphorical or metaphysical heart, but his actual heart muscle. And I was picking up on a lot of things that were not good about it. I told him to take care of himself, to get it checked out, all of it. I was like, no, don't worry about it. Or actually, be concerned about it, but don't worry about it. Don't let it add to your stress, but go see somebody about it. He goes to a cardiologist, he runs tests, and he was finding that this one test that was related to calcium in arteries and all of that was through the roof. And that was an indication that he might actually be on the road to developing heart disease. The man, when he came in here, lost about 80 pounds. He had taken his health completely seriously, turned everything around, eating, exercising, doing everything he could on top of the world. And he wanted to come to me and say if I didn't give him those messages, that there was a good chance that he would have heart disease or even worse. In that moment, I had to thank him. Thank you for those kind words, but I needed to pass the praise to Spirit, the way that Spirit works through me. So again, I think it's okay that if we in this world do a good job at something, that it's okay to be proud of ourselves and to be proud of our efforts. Not necessarily full of ourselves, but sure of ourselves and proud. So that's an experience that I wanted to share. Really cool experience that makes my heart feel so good. Now let's get into the tarot cards for you. You're on social media, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, wherever I put this, and I want to thank you for watching this. And remember that this information is not only for you, but it's for us, meaning me as well. So let's take a look at the card that represents where we're at right now. 8 of Wands. There's a lot of movement, a lot of communication, a lot of things happening around us. And I think, we're in, for those of us in the United States, we're in this transitionary period between one president and the next. There's a lot of things going on about that. If you're up on current events or news, you're going to see that there's a lot of movement, a lot of movement around those things. This is also a card of prayer. A card of prayer, to me. Anyways, I see this as sending prayer or messages up to Spirit to communicate. I believe in the power of prayer because I believe that it gives us the ability to, it's hard to say. Let me explain it, I think, a little bit better. If you take 2 people that are ill, they have sicknesses, okay? And one person doesn't pray. One person prays for health. Well, this person believes that health is possible, so they're going to participate in that. And that man who came to me with the potential heart disease, a part of seeing me was a prayer, communication to Spirit, not necessarily praying to God or Jesus. If that's your thing, I encourage you to do it, but it's not necessarily just that. It's that communication with the divine. But that person who would pray for health, again, is going to participate in it. And that man who lost, 80 pounds, I told him he lost a hobbit. A hobbit from Lord of the Rings is about 60 to 80 pounds. He lost a hobbit. That's amazing. The card that vexes and perplexes us is the Tower. Destruction of things that should not have been built. This is difficult because it's interesting, that man, he's involved in the arts. And I was talking to him about the potential darkness that we're walking into. Some people see President Trump as a savior. Some people see him as the Antichrist. Regardless, the state of America is pretty hellacious right now. Whole lot of divided people, neighbor hating neighbor. And from where I'm sitting, I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. I do think it's one of those circumstances where it's going to get worse before it gets better. If we're walking into, I'll use air quotes here, the dark ages. I don't know if we are, but if we are walking into the dark ages, that's when we're going to need art. That's when we're going to need creation. Now, wherever we're headed, let's hope that there's the destruction of things that are not necessary. In that way, think of the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, and then the Renaissance that would come after that. Perhaps we need to walk through the darkness. Perhaps things need to be destroyed for us to have something better. This is very difficult because humans are very dualistic in thinking, like it's either good or it's bad. We're not very good at nuance or existing in the gray. I'm not sure what's going to happen over the next 4 years, but I am a believer in the perseverance of the human spirit in the face of adversity. And I do know that when dark times visit us, that the human spirit will rise up to meet it, be innovative, creative, and nurturative. Nurturative? If that's a word, in the face of those darknesses. So that's what I hope, is that I hope if we are walking into dark times, and I do think it's going to get worse before it gets better, I think we'll see a lot brought forth from that unnecessary, or the destruction of that which is unnecessary. Let's take a look at the card that heals and reveals. Sun. I love it. So we have this, like we're praying, we're hoping, we're communicating because there's this thing that's vexing us. Remember that no matter what happens, the sun will always come out. After every oppressive regime, which eventually always breaks itself down, well, the sun comes out. And you could be a person who sees President Trump as a savior. You could be a person that sees President Trump as the Antichrist. But wherever you're at, the sun eventually rises, no matter how long the darkness, no matter how long the night. And I think that we have to remember that. There's a lot of people who think President Trump is a savior, that are spiritual and into topics and subjects like this. There's a lot of people who think he's the Antichrist. Regardless, the sun always rises. So this is a matter of having faith. Having faith in that, at the very least, the perseverance of the human spirit will shine brightly in the face of whatever darkness it faces. And sometimes the human spirit has to experience darkness to find its brightest moment. So, with that being said, thank you for being here. That's our tarot snapshot. So much love to you. And remember my services, joshsimons.com. Sign up for a session. Who knows what's going to come through. But much love to you. And again, thank you for being here. I'll see you next week.